Hey there, it's Roslyn here. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm making a super cute and super cheesy birthday card using this Photoplay paper stamp set called Mini Mice. I'm trying something a little different today with my Copic coloring. I'm doing a little bit of practice with this technique that I've come up with. I'm sure it's not original, but it's working for me. And I'm trying to create an image that has a little bit more contrast and a little bit more highlight. So my deepest marker here is W9, and I've just put that in a few little places where the shadows might be, and I'm going over that with W5. Now typically I would go from a W9 to a W7, but this time I'm skipping right to the W5 and blending that W5 out with a W3. And I'm just going over top of what I've previously colored with that W3. And then for my lightest color, I'm using W1. And as you'll see here, it's quite dark in the shadow areas and much lighter in the highlight areas. And I'm just keeping that darkest marker close to where the shadows are and not coming out too far with that. And I'm going to do the same with his head, and but I'm starting with a W5 marker instead of the W9. I didn't need it as dark, and it's quite a large area to color. I'm going over that W5 with a W3 and up around the top of his head, and then filling the remainder of his face in with the W1. So keeping it nice and bright and light on his cute face. Now, I've stamped this guy out on some Hammermill 100-pound paper, and that's because I have coordinating dies for him. If I were to fussy cut him, I would use a thinner paper like a Nina Solar White Classic Crest 80-pound paper or something similar to that, because that is just easier for me to fussy cut out and it just looks a lot cleaner. But since I have a coordinating die for this guy, I'm using the thicker paper, which seems to blend nicely, or have the Copics blend nicely on top of it. I'm taking that W3 here and just defining a little bit of his chubby face around his nose, and then blending that out with the W1 again. And for his little nose and tail and a little bit on his ears, I'm using an R20. And for his ears, I'm going to blend that out with, sorry, that was R22. I'm going to blend that out with R20 and then an R01, because that's quite a large area to color in. But I like how that turned out. So for the balloons, I stuck with jewel tones, and I'm starting with a RV69 on that first balloon, and I'm just going slightly away from the outer edge of that balloon and bringing that color up from the bottom of that balloon here, filling in some of that color. And I'm just leaving that slight bit of white there to be filled in with the lighter color. The next color is RV19, and I'm going to put that in the white space just on the bottom of that balloon. And then for the highlight there and for the center of the balloon, I'm using RV55. And since these are quite far apart on the scale, I'm going to keep going back and forth until I have all three of those colors blended fairly well. But I'm staying away from that white, or what used to be the white edge of that balloon, and it sort of gives a more three-dimensional look, I find. So that's something else I'm practicing with, coloring to the edge with darker markers, but then here I'm not coloring to the edge, sort of playing around. For the second balloon, I'm using some purples. I'm starting with V09, and that's my darkest shade, and you can see I'm just tucking that up next to that red balloon, because it will cast a shadow on the purple balloon. And for the medium color, I'm using V17 and for the lightest V15. And I like how this turned out. I struggle with Copics, like the purples in the Copic markers, but this one worked out not too bad. And as you can see, I used the lightest marker there to go in my white space on the edge of that balloon. And then for the third balloon, I'm using B39 as my darkest color, and again tucking that up right underneath that red balloon and leaving the white space for a lighter blue. My second color here is B37, and the last being B23. And I like how that turned out. And then of course I have to make sure that I get all of the balloon nicely blended here. So I'm going to be cutting that out, like I said, with the coordinating die, and he's going to go on the front of my card. And I really fell in love with these mice when I saw them, but I also fell in love with the sentiments, and I'll tell you about them in a minute. There he is, all cut out. Looks pretty cute, I think. I'm going to work on the front of my card now. I'm taking 2 pieces of white cardstock, and I cut those with the double stitched rectangles from Cat Scrappiness. I cut 2 panels, and then I'm bringing in this Sunny Studios staggered circle die to make the holes for my cheese. You can also use circle punches if you have that in your stash, or circle dies, and you could just arrange them different sizes in different places. But I thought that this staggered circle die from Sunny Studios just was like, it was made to be used for cheese, I think. After I have that cut out, I'm going to ink blend some Wild Honey Distress Oxide ink. Now, I didn't have the right yellow or yellowish orange or orangish yellow in my stash for cardstock, so I thought this Wild Honey looked the best. And that's the thing, you can create your own colored cardstock with any inks that you have in your stash. You can go direct to paper with your ink pad, or you can blend it like I am doing here, and that way your card is a nice custom color. My yellow cardstocks were too yellowy, maybe like a lemon yellow. Oh, look at the cheese that it left over on my mat. It's so cute. Or like super orange, like a pumpkin orange. So this helped me solve my problem of not having the right cardstock. And I'm going to just blend just enough ink to get inside those circles, because I'm going to be popping the first panel with the holes on top of the second panel, and that just gives a little dimension to the card. And before I do that, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Now here's where the sentiments come in. The sentiments on this stamp set are super cute, but the one that really got me was the one that says, "Age is not important unless you are cheese," which is just so cute, because you know, you're wishing the person a happy birthday. They might be feeling, you know, not so great about turning the next number. But I thought this was really cute. And I know a lot of cheese lovers out there, so a lot of people would appreciate this card. I'm stamping that on with some VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink, and I made sure to allow the oxides to dry completely. I find that if I am too fast with stamping my black sentiment, it doesn't come out as black as I like. I'm not sure why, but I made sure that this was completely dry before I stamp my sentiment. I've added a bunch of foam tape to the back of the Holy Cheese panel, and I put a ton on there in case I'm putting this in the mail. You know, it'll stand up to not getting squished and whatnot. So I didn't show you putting on the foam tape because we'd be here for too much time. So when I've got that all the backing off, I'm going to line those 2 panels up, and that will create a nice canvas for me to put my little mouse on. But before I do that, I'm going to stamp the inside of my card. This is a A2 card size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to add happy birthday on the inside. I'm doing that because the front doesn't say happy birthday. It implies that it's a birthday card, but I thought adding happy birthday on there would be nice. So for the happy birthday, I got that out of a stamp set called Greeting Mix 1 by Simon Says Stamp. It has a whole bunch of different greetings, from birthday to encouragement to, you know, just have a great day sort of thing. But this birthday, happy birthday, I really like the font. And it really went with the font on the front of my card. So I'm stamping that again in the Nocturne ink from VersaFine Clear. And I'm stamping that with my stamping platform, even though the VersaFine Clear is a pigment ink and it really does stamp nicely the first time. Usually it stamps really nicely the first time. So after I do that, I'm going to take the little piece of cheese that came in the set and decorate around that happy birthday. So I'm just positioning that where I want it, and that kind of ties in the front of the card. And I couldn't help but use that little cheese stamp. I have some Morning Marigold ink from Crafting Kimmy Stamps that I thought went really well with the front of the card. And to add another one there, instead of cleaning my stamp, I just took some packaging that I had on my desk and put that over top of my card so I can move the stamp without having to clean it. And then I'm going to stamp another second little piece of cheese on the inside of my card. There's some other cute sentiments in this stamp set. One says, "Have a mice day." One says, "I love you more than cheese," and a nice little simple "hello friend." So I'll have to make some more cards using those sentiments as well. So now that I have my card base decorated on the inside, I'm going to attach the front panel that I made just with some tape runner here. And because I use the double stitched cat scrappiness dies, they're slightly smaller than an A2 size card, so it leaves a nice white border that I think looks really nice, just to make that yellow cheese pop. So here's where my little mouse comes in. He is going to stand there with his bunch of balloons, and I'm just adding some foam tape on the back of those balloons, just so that those balloons don't dip down into the hole of the cheese. And then I'm going to stick the rest of him down with some liquid glue. So I think this is quite a fun yet simple card that you can make over and over again. I know that my mom really fell in love with it when she saw it, so I had to make her a bunch of these so that she could send to all her friends. So I'm bringing in some flat backed sequins here from Simon Says Stamp. I believe I got these in a card kit, so I'm not sure if they have a name or not, but they have various colors here, and the colors I'm picking out are pink and purple and the nice royal blue there. And I'm just going to add those with some liquid glue, and I must have seen a blemish there, a smudge, or some adhesive, some rogue adhesive, so I just use my adhesive eraser to clean that up. And of course I'm not getting the right colors that I want, so I'm going to replace that one with the right color that I want here. I'm just gonna add those with some liquid glue. And I'm just keeping it simple there, but I think it adds a lot of personality to add some sequence, because we are celebrating a birthday with this card. And for the finishing touches, I'm just going to add some white gel pen here on my balloons, but I didn't choose to use any on the mouse because he's pretty light as it is. And I'm coming in with a black glaze pen and just going over his eyes to really make them pop. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this cute cheesy card that I made, and I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.